If you're looking for Raiders draft videos, and if you want to be able to pull up with Jeremy Chuggs and I live for the 2025 NFL Draft, make sure you're subscribed. Make sure your notifications are turned on. We are going to be live for every single pick all 3 days, and you will see the picks here on this channel before you see them on TV. That is my promise to you. Raider Nation, what's going on? The silver and black are on the clock. It's round 2, pick number 37. I'm Mitchell Renz, host of the Raiders Report. And coming up here on today's show, I'm going to break down the top 10 players I want John Spytek and Pete Carroll to target in round 2 at pick number 37. I have these players ranked from 10 all the way down to 1, and I'll kind of break down why I have each player where I do. In terms of the criteria to make this show, I ran 10 mock drafts this morning, and I ran them on PFN and PFF. Players in this video had to be available to me at least 50% of the time. I was hoping that I was going to be able to get some offensive linemen, maybe an Emeka Ibuka I was kind of hoping for. But these rankings are based on Raiders' needs and overall team fit. Of course, how much I like the player, but it's not me saying this guy's better than this one. This is currently the player that I would draft if I was the Raiders, and every single one of these names, the Raiders have shown at least a little bit of interest in. Let's go to number 10 coming up here on the list, and I got Kaleb Johnson, running back from Iowa. It's not a secret that the Raiders' running back room was really bad last season. In fact, it was the worst in the NFL. And I think when you look at the style of runner that Johnson is, at 6 foot, 225 pounds, he's a thumper. He's somebody that's going to go north and south. He's not going to waste a lot of time. Good inside zone type of runner. And when you pair that with Raheem Mostert, who does have legit home run ability, I think that that's low-key a sneaky good move for the Raiders. Somebody that you're not going to have to go out and get like super, super high in the draft. But I have him at number 10 because I would like to be able to get him a little bit later than 37. But if you're also a team that needs a running back, and I do think that there is a chance that running backs go off the board a little bit earlier than what we're accustomed to because of how deep this class is. And I think you could see it almost like the way offensive linemen went off the board last season. The Raiders do have a top 30 visit with them, so they're obviously interested. Does have that explosive ability, shows you good patience, has good hands, does need to work, though, on his overall receiving ability. So let's say right now you're on the clock, you're sitting down to this Raiders team, you're in the war room, and John Spytek and Pete, they look at you. Pete's probably looking at you like this, just chomping on that gum. Who do you want the Raiders to draft at pick 37? If you tuned into today's show, this is the number one question that I want you to answer. You're about to get hit with the YouTube ad break. While that ad is playing, scroll on down, and please answer this question. Let's go to number 9 here on my list of the Raiders players that I would like for the silver and black to target in round 2. I'm going to go Shavon Revel Jr., cornerback out of ECU. This is somebody that I would also consider to be one of my guys. He has fallen down in my rankings a little bit due to some injuries. Now, I liked what I saw overall this offseason, but that injury did scare me at the beginning of last season. But look at him. He's 6'3", 193 pounds. Once he gets in an NFL weight room, he's going to be able to put on a little bit of muscle. He's going to be able to put on a little bit of size. I don't want to throw out the name like a Tariq Woolen, but Tariq Woolen was a freak of nature as an athlete, smaller school guy, UTSA. That was somebody Pete Carroll showed interest in. I think Shavon Revel Jr. is also one of those just freak athletes. Like, he's got the NFL traits, speed, the body length. It fits exactly what Pete Carroll likes. That torn ACL in September does concern me a little bit, and it's probably one of the reasons why he's fallen down some draft boards. He's going to be good to go by week 1, unless he suffers a setback, right? But for somebody that went to a small school, for somebody that is known for being just a freak athlete, and them not really being able to test at 100% strength right now, I do think it's kind of impacted his overall ability. But when you are as talented as what Revel is, this is going to be a player that if the Raiders take him at 37, the upside is absolutely there, and you believe in this regime to make corners work because that's what this regime has been able to do. When I say regime, Pete Carroll, Spytek, our coaching staff, I believe in them a lot. Let's go to number 8 here. I'm going to go with Quinshon Judkins. And yes, I am sitting up here saying that I would rather the Raiders get Judkins at pick 37 than Kaleb Johnson, than Shavon Revel Jr. And I say that because of familiarity, where he is a tank, dude. He is a low to the ground, 5'11", and when he runs, He runs like he's 5'7", which I kind of like because he's low to the ground, and you can tell that he's going to pack a punch, and he's trying to run through your mother effing face. 194 carries last season with Chip Kelly, and you could see in the Natty, and you could see kind of in the college football playoffs, they used him a lot. He's a running back where if you're in the lead and you got to try to tackle this guy in the third and the fourth quarter, or you got to try to tackle him in January, December, I hope in February, I do think that that's going to be a lot more of a mental task than what people realize. For the Raiders, they met with him at the NFL Combine. We know that he has a connection to Chip Kelly, but because of that powerful running style and because he's really good on inside runs, him paired with somebody like Mostert, I could see them doing. He's decent at pass protection. I would like to see him get better at it, and he's good at catching the football. But that's the problem where if I'm going to take a running back this early, you better be able to pass protect. You better be able to catch the football. Let's go to number 7 on my list here for top round 2 targets for the Silver and Black. I'm going to go with cornerback out of Mississippi, Trey Amos. And this is actually a player that the more and more I watch him, the more and more I start to like him. And I actually want to be able to sit down and watch more tape on him. He's 6 foot, 195 pounds. But he's a playmaker, right? Like, he has a nose for the football, and he has a nose for being able to break up passes. 13 PBUs last season, 50 tackles, 3 INTs in the SEC. The Silver and Black have met with him at the NFL Combine, but it's the ball skills, the excellent instincts of just being at the right spot at the right time. My other thing that I love is when you see a player who does slowly get better, and when you see somebody, their technique gets better, their footwork gets better, their just football IQ gets better, and you can really see it in his ability to cover receivers. And, like, I don't really think it should surprise anybody because when you're in the SEC, right, like, you're going up against great talent. You're going up against Ole Miss. Like, you're going up against great talent. And his ability, you saw, he got better and better and better. And that's a coaching quality that I love because I know this staff, it has a lot of good coaches. And when you see somebody that's able to improve, I am a sucker for that type of shit. Let's go to number 6 here. And it's wide receiver out of Iowa State, Jayden Higgins. Now, I will admit, the Raiders do not have a top 30 visit with Higgins yet. It might end up happening. They also do not have an NFL, or they did not meet with him at the NFL Combine. But what I do know is the Raiders have been looking at X receivers. And if you miss out on a Teteroa McMillan at pick 6, I think the guy that you could probably get in the round 2 at number 37 is Jayden Higgins. Now, I don't have Higgins as a top 45 overall prospect. I'm not going to lie to you. But I do look at this as being a need. Somebody who had 87 catches, who had close to 1,200 yards, 9 touchdowns, and he's somebody that I do think fits very well with what the Raiders are looking for with Geno Smith. The Silver and Black did meet with his teammate Jalen Newell, and they also have a top 30 visit with him, not only at the Combine, but again, they also are going to do a top 30 visit with him. Because the Raiders have been looking for an X and because it's been a little bit slow in free agency, what if they just wait for the draft and if you're able to get Higgins? I originally wanted Higgins to be kind of in this round 3 range, but he just is not going to be available at pick 68, and he's kind of in that weird purgatory range where you're like, I don't know if I love it at 37, but I also not going to get him at 68, so because I know the Raiders need another wide receiver, and his ability to run a complete route tree is really good for somebody like Geno. His ability to go up and get balls for fades, really important for Geno. He's also really smart, and I know we don't like Travis Kelce, but Kelce has a knack for being able to find open zone holes, and it's because he's a really smart player. That's also what Jayden Higgins does. He does it time and time again. Love what he brings to the table, but if you're somebody that likes Teteroa McMillan, you could get somebody that is the lesser version of him in Jayden Higgins at pick number 37, because I think you could go Ashton Genty, Jayden Higgins. Or somebody might say, Mitch, I'd rather go Teteroa McMillan and then try to get somebody like a Quinshon Judkins. To each their own. Higgins, though, I do think is a good fit with Geno, and if I didn't think that he would be a good fit with Geno, he would not be ranked as high as what he is. Before we get into the top 5 players that I want the Raiders to target at pick number 37 in round 2 of the 2025 NFL Draft, I got to show some love to our sponsor, Prize Picks. You can actually get $50 when you play 5 over at Prize Picks, and all you got to do is go to prizepicks.com/CLNS. So if you're watching this show right now and you're like, all right, Mitch, talk to me. Download the app today, use code CLNS, get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Sign up today and get $50 instantly when you play $5. Why should you do it? Well, PrizePicks is the best place to get real money sports action with over 10 million members and billions of dollars in awarded winnings. PrizePicks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to all. You pick more or less on at least 2 players for a shot to win up to 1,000 times your cash. Run your game all season long on PrizePicks. So if that sounded good to you, then download the app today. Use code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. And if you are trying to run your game, huge shout out to you, whether you want it to be baseball, whether you want it to be basketball, whether you want it to be Raiders season long, you can do that. But I am filming this on Tuesday, which is when I go live, and they also have different deals like Taco Tuesday. But for anybody that's planning on watching some basketball games this week, like they right now, 1 point. If Cooper Flagg scores 1 point, then you win, right? Like that's pretty easy to me. So then that means you just got to test your knowledge, pick more or less on one other player, and then you're going to be able to watch the winnings roll in. If you do end up winning, one of the things that I love about PrizePicks is you can actually get your money in as quick as 15 minutes, quick withdrawals, easy payout. That stuff for me is simple peace of mind, which is huge for me. So if you're watching this show right now and you want to get started with America's #1 daily fantasy sports app, download the app today. Use code CLNS. That link's going to be available, y'all, down in the comments, down in the description of today's show. Let's go to the next player on my list, and it is Maxwell Hairston, cornerback from Kentucky. And this is somebody that is really, really, really shooting up my boards because of how athletically gifted he is. Now, I'll be real. I could see Pete Carroll in this regime actually not liking Maxwell Hairston. I could also see this regime looking at him and going, I can make this kid really, really special. He's 5'11", definitely a little bit undersized. I would like to be able to see him put up, a little bit more weight, and maybe that's why he's one of the worst tackling corners I've seen, and that does make me nervous, and that's one of the reasons why I could see maybe them not loving him, because he is a huge liability in the running game and really wants nothing to do with trying to tackle. Kind of reminds me of Jack Jones playing Ole Ole. Honestly, even what's his name, Marcus Peters from a few years ago, wants no part of it. But extremely versatile corner who I think could play in man and I think could play in zone. And when I think about what the Raiders are looking at, they want to be able to find players that have a lot of that versatility. And if you miss out on the opportunity to get a true 3 safety, I do think Maxwell Hairston gives you that ability where you can play him in the nickel, you can play him on the outside. And at that 4.28 speed, plus the ball skills are on top of that, if he can add some weight, not lose so much burst. But the other part that I love about his game is he can play in the flat. He's just really able to move all over the football field, and he's quick, in between routes. He follows people really well. It would be tough to get high upside, but there is some risk, I'm not going to lie to y'all, to Maxwell Hairston. Let's go to number 4, and if I'm being real, this is really for me when I would say there is a clear tier gap of who I want the Raiders to take at pick number 37. Linebacker Carson Schwesinger from UCLA. 6'2", 242 pounds, a little bit undersized as a linebacker, but sometimes I don't give a shit. And Carson, when you turn on his tape, is the player of you're like, all right, this guy looks a little bit small, kind of looks, I don't know if he's going to be able to get it done, and it just is always around the football. One of the linebackers that I loved the previous year, his name was Peyton Wilson, and I know the Raiders, Patrick Graham, really liked him as well. Wilson is a much better athlete, but Wilson was always around the football. Carson Schwesinger is kind of that exact same player. 136 tackles, 4 sacks for the Bruins last year, and he also met with the Raiders at the NFL Combine. His instincts, you just can't really relate to it because I think if you were to watch him at the Combine and you just see how he tested, you probably wouldn't be all that impressed. And he's still a very good player overall, but he averaged 7.5 solo tackles per game this past season for the Bruins. That was the highest in FBS since the year 2020. When I think about the type of player that a Landon Roberts is, somebody who's going to hit stick you, come downhill, and just make you feel him for 4 freaking quarters, when you have that type of player and then you pair it with Schwesinger, I think it's actually a very good linebacker duo, somebody that can cover, somebody that can do a lot of different things, and that's why he's at number 4 on my list. Let's go to number 3 here. It's going to be cornerback Benjamin Morrison. And this is somebody that I know for a fact the Las Vegas Raiders like a lot. He's got a C on his chest. That's important. We also know coaching connections. I know that the Raiders running back coach was at Notre Dame last season, and I know that he's not a running back, but when you see players up close and personal, especially for 3 years, that has a lot of value to this organization. He had a top 30 visit, and he also met with them at the Combine, so you know for a fact that the Raiders are doing a lot of their research on him, and I think that they're doing a lot of research on him because of the injury that he sustained this past season with that hip injury. I love his ability, though, to make plays on the ball. 9 interceptions in 31 games played. Plays bigger than his size, competitive, tough cornerback. One of the comps that I've been seeing thrown out there a lot on Morrison is Marlon Humphrey, and I love the style of player that Marlon Humphrey had for quite some time. And again, he's not going to be somebody that wows you in a lot of different ways, but he's just a really freaking good all-around corner. I would put him, and I've said this comparison before about Marlon Humphrey, he's kind of like Mario in a video game where you're like, you know what, he's really good at a lot of different things, but I don't know if he's great at anything. Benjamin Morrison, if he's 100% healthy and he shows that hip is much better, he's somebody that I would love for the Raiders to take at 37, and obviously is on the Raiders' radar as well. If you want to check out the top players that I want the Silver and Black to target in round 1 at pick number 6, this video is going to be available to y'all down in the comments, down in the description of today's show. And if you like this video, if you want me to continue to do styles of, because I feel like oftentimes there's so much concentration in round 1. I get it, and I do this show every day. I've been doing it for 7+ years now. If you also want me to break down prospects, like you like that I'm breaking down guys at 37, round 2. If you want me to break down prospects in round 3, I'll make you guys a deal. This is how I do this show. If this video that I'm recording right now gets 1,000 likes, I'm going to do my top 10 prospects that I want the Raiders to target in round 3. And if that video gets 1,000 likes, we'll go to round 4. We'll go to round 5. We'll go to round 6. We'll go to round 7. I love being able to do this type of stuff. And hopefully, like when I first started the show, when we all first started the show, it was, what is the content that the nation wants? If you click the like button, that tells me that you want more content like we're dropping here. Let's go to number 2. And this one, I think he just continues to be somebody that I love. And he was actually a player that I watched a lot more tape on this past weekend. And TreVeyon Henderson, I am more than okay with taking him at number 37. He's not going to be there for you at number 68, and that's just the way that it is. But when I went back and I first watched TreVeyon Henderson tape, I was like, I love this kid's home run ability. Watched a little bit more games and some games that I thought he struggled, and I was a little bit concerned about his overall vision. He's got a great relationship with Chip Kelly. I also think that, his skill set with Raheem Mostert would be fun, but Henderson being able to spread you out, he can get it done. The reason why I think I could make an argument of why I would rather the Raiders draft TreVeyon Henderson at 37 instead of Ashton Jeanty at 6 is because of what Henderson provides in the passing game. He is a great receiving back. He catches a football like a wide receiver. And if you want a running back that can be used that way, that's going to be really important. He also might be one of the best pass protectors, pass blockers at the running back position in this year's draft. The only other back that I saw that I thought competed with him was Taj Brooks, who from Texas Tech, who you're going to be able to get who you'd be able to get on day 3. His inside runs, he does lack some vision. I'm not going to disagree with that at all. But when he's got home run speed, the Raiders met with him at the Combine with that connection to Chip Kelly. But the number one reason, pass protection, and he is a great, and I mean it, great receiving back. I know Quinshon Judkins had more carries than Henderson did in college, but I would almost look at it as Henderson is the better overall prospect than Judkins. Judkins might be safer. Henderson is legit, dude. And I think when you think about the players that we have, the talent that we have, and again, when Geno Smith is protected, he's so much better. TreVeyon Henderson is the number 2 player that I would want the Raiders to take at 37. But that means coming in here at number 1, the player that I believe makes the most sense for the Raiders at the time that I'm recording this video, which is March 25th. His name, safety Xavier Watts. And I've been saying for a while, the Raiders need a free safety. Quite frankly, this is the biggest weakness that the Silver and Black have right now in their secondary. And what's funny is, shout out to the great Brandon Jasper, RIPs down below. Brandon actually was talking about Xavier Watts to me last year, As you guys can see, he's Omaha. Brandon was from Omaha. So being able to watch Watts closely was something that I really enjoyed. 83 tackles, 6 INTs, 9 PBUs. The Raiders met with Watts at the Combine, and because of how big of a need free safety is, I think finding your true starter at free safety is extremely, extremely important. He's also Notre Dame's first 2-time consensus All-American since 1993. He's a team captain. He's a true center fielder with great instincts. I mean, you're talking about 13 interceptions over the past 2 seasons for the Fighting Irish. He's also got the coaching connections to the Raiders' new running back coach who was at Notre Dame. Like, I'm actually surprised in myself for putting a safety this high in my rankings. But if you were to tell me out of all those players that I just mentioned, who do I think legitimately would make the biggest impact to our team right away based on skill set, based on what we need, based on talent, I'm going to go with Xavier Watts from Notre Dame as the number 1 player right now I would want the Raiders to take at number 37. Dude's a true ball hawk. So let's go through these names one more time here. At number 10, I got Kaleb Johnson, running back from Iowa. 9, Shavon Revel Jr., cornerback from ECU. Quinshon Judkins, running back from Ohio State. Trey Amos, corner from Mississippi. Jayden Higgins, wide receiver from Iowa State. At number 5, Maxwell Hairston, DB from Kentucky. Carson Schwesinger, linebacker from UCLA. Benjamin Morrison, cornerback from Notre Dame. TreVeyon Henderson, running back from Ohio State. And at number 1, free safety Xavier Watts from Notre Dame. Reminder one more time, my social media, I am at Mitchell Renz 365, Instagram, Twitter, and if you want me to make a round 3 draft targets video, make sure you click that like button. And if there's any names that I forgot or any names that you think I missed, don't be afraid to throw them down below. And you just got to remember how I started the show. They had to be available to me in mock drafts at least 50% of the time. If they weren't, they did not crack the list. And there was a lot of players that I know I'm going to get some questions about that unfortunately just didn't quite fit the criteria to make this video.